we have made our brine and all of the pickling salt has dissolved. And by the way, this is a specific canning ladle. I love it because it has a hook and it can hook on the side. It also has these side spouts. It's not something that's required to do canning, but it really does work nice. And this is extremely hot liquid going into a glass jar, and I've never burned myself using this ladle. So we're just gonna take it. I hold the jar over to ensure if there is any spillage that it goes outside of the jar. And we are just going to fill it up to that line I talked about before, leaving that space, which we call the head space.
I got your teammate. Your teammate.
Do that one last. If we don't have enough brine, because we had 5.5 jars technically, if the leftover brine from the pickles was not, so the liquid for the pickles and the green beans is exactly the same. The brine, there's no difference. Literally the only difference between the pickle and the green bean recipe is that clove that you add. So
that one has the seasoning.
Oh, good.
They put it in there
for this
with,
one.
Yeah.
Good. I forgot. Okay, so what had happened is when we were originally doing this, we started stuffing our last jar, and we realized that we really didn't have a lot of green beans left, and it seemed like a waste to waste this nice big long jar. So we decided that we were going to use one of the smaller pint jars. Well, we had already put all of this seasoning in this one, so when you go to take it out, it was a wet jar because we had just washed it. You know, it got stuck all over the place. So Jamie was just reminding me that we wanted to put the brine in there and shake it up and get it out. We need just a little bit more. There, perfect. Okay. So when sealing your jars, so these were washed and dried from the soapy water solution. So you do not want to tighten these real tight like that. You want to do one finger tight. So you're going to hold the jar and you're going to twist, 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 twist until you can't twist anymore with one finger. If you take your hand and you twist, you're going to notice a little rotation. You don't want that. The reason being that when these are in the hot water, what they're doing is everything in here is sort of being sanitized in a way. Again, we're preserving food, so we want to make it shelf stable. If we were to leave these green beans out on the counter fresh, they would do what? They would rot, right? So this whole process creates it so that you can leave it in the counter, on the counter, or in the cabinet, like these peaches, for really forever, but food safety will tell you no more than a year, but really they're fine. So what's happening is that through the process of the boiling water, the air in the jar is siphoning out, which means it comes out of this little lip. So if you tighten it all the way, the air can't get out, and it's not fully preserving the way that it should in sealing. So, and also it can cause a glass jar to explode in your canner, which of course nobody wants. So we're gonna do that for each one of these. Oh, I forgot to mention, usually I take a paper towel or a napkin or something, and I wipe the edge around the jar. With this recipe, it's not really that big of a deal because it's going to go in the water anyways, but when you're doing something that has more of a sweet syrup, like my peaches recipe, I'm definitely going to wipe the rims just to get any excess, anything off. Okay, so we're going to do 1 finger tight. Where are you? 1 finger tight. Okay, so then what we're going to do is, this is another piece that is required for canning. Not a lot of requirements, but this is a lifesaver. Okay, so we are going to watch you don't get a hot steam facial. Use a mitt to take the top off. You can see that the water is at a roaring boil, and that's what we want. We're going to grab the jars using this tool. The rubber should be on the bottom. We are going to place our jars in the canner. This canner can fit probably around 10 jars. Just depends. Okay. And then we are going to drop it into the water. So you see there's space. Huh?
Too much space?
No, there's space. There just needs to be water space. No, look, the seasoning is coming out of the jar. So you know that at least you have enough headspace for it to siphon out. So then we're going to put the top back on. You want to make sure that you see these little boils of water coming up, because this needs to be a solid 10 minutes of boiling. So I'm actually going to put it on for 11 minutes just to give it that 1 minute to come up back to a boil once I put the top on. And then after 10 minutes, we'll take the jars out and leave them to rest and sit, and they will be done.